What's up, guys? I'm Chad Barnes, and welcome to the channel. Here, it's all about real car talk, from simple fixes to smart driving tips and keeping your ride in top shape. If that sounds good to you, go ahead and give the video a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button and make sure you watch all the way through. There's a lot of good stuff coming. Let's get to it.
About the reasons for this delay, we can only guess, but undoubtedly, the last stage was affected by the outbreak of the pandemic, the general lockdown and the closure of borders. As a result, it became impossible to invite foreign specialists to carry out certain works, nor to send Renault Russia engineers abroad to carry out these works at the facilities of European technical centers. Nevertheless, it is possible to summarize with satisfaction. A huge amount of work has been completed, and the Moscow plant of Renault Russia begins serial production of the second generation of the crossover, which became a bestseller and set standards in its segment. About the design, the exterior designers from Renault Techno Center and Renault Technologia Rumani had a specific task. The image of the new car had to be as similar to the old one as possible, i.e., the car should be perceived as a Duster. Proceeding from it, designers have kept both form factor and basic proportions. However, the car has definitely become more modern. Head lighting equipment, although it remains halogen, but got LED daytime running lights. There are LED elements in the taillights. The company emphasizes that the platform has undergone major changes, and even talk about a new generation of modular SUV platform, the same on which the Arkana is built. The platform has indeed received a new front module with electric power steering instead of GUR, and the wheelbase has grown, though only by 3 mm, and only in the case of all-wheel drive versions. The all-wheel drive system, braking system, and suspension architecture remain exactly the same. And in any case, if we compare the platforms of the new and old Duster, more than half of the parts are new. But the body of the new Duster, according to representatives of the brand, despite all the external similarity with the old, updated 100%, including the power structure and external panels. This is confirmed by the increased angle of inclination of the front pillars, and slightly changed ratio of the height of glazing and sidewall height. At the same time, the designers tried to preserve all the advantages of the first generation, first of all, related to cross-country ability. Therefore, the car retained a very large, for the class, ground clearance of 210 mm, excellent geometric cross-country ability, entry angle, 31 degrees, exit angle, 33 degrees. In addition, all Russian-made cars received steel protection of the engine and fuel lines, and a number of small improvements. For example, the lower lining on the bumpers of the first-generation Duster was made of painted black plastic, and now it is painted in the mass, so that owners cannot be afraid of scratches received in contact with the ground. Even a deep scratch can be straightened by simply heating the part with a hairdryer. About technology, our new Duster fundamentally differs from not our lineup of available engines. The old Duster had such a line of engines and transmissions: 1.62 WD MKP5, 1.64 WD MKP6, with the first short, 2.04 WD MKP6, with the first short, 2.04 WD AKP4 plus 1.5 D4 WD MKP6. In Europe, the bet is made on turbo engines of 1.0 and 1.2 litres, as well as a 1.5 litre diesel. The specifics of the Russian market have made serious adjustments to this lineup. As for the 1.6 litre H4M engine, it remains in the lineup. It will be equipped with both all-wheel drive and front-wheel drive versions, and the all-wheel drive versions will have a modernized version with a modified geometry of the intake tract and modified injectors. It is paired only with a manual 6-speed gearbox. Also in the lineup appears new for the model 1.3 litre turbo engine TC150, aka H5H, with an output of 150 horsepower, capable of producing 250 nanometers of torque. This is the same motor that is also used on the Arkana and Captur models, where it works exclusively in a CVT pairing with both front and all-wheel drive. In the case of the Duster, there will be no front-wheel drive with this motor, only a version with CVT and all-wheel drive. Especially for the Duster model, the Jatco JF016E variator has received a special setting, if the lock mode is enabled in the all-wheel drive system. The variator torque converter will not lock up to a speed of 45 km per hour. It is worth recalling that in the case of both Arkana and Captur, the torque converter is locked at a speed of 12 km per hour. Changes have been made in order that the car is not afraid of movement in difficult conditions, and it was possible to crawl with. Slippage as much as you want. In addition, Duster will be the first model in the range of Renault, in which this motor appears with a manual transmission. That is, there will be a version TC154 AWD MKP6, with a short first gear. And, finally, a couple of unexpected surprises. Discussing the prospects of the second-generation Duster in Russia, most experts express confidence that the 2-liter atmospheric engine F4R will go into oblivion together with a 4-speed automatic DP8. But the 2-liter motor remains in the lineup, however, only paired with a 6-speed manual. This is done at the request of the army of fans of the 2-liter atmospheric, so that they could update their car, but remain with the old and familiar motor. Those who want to go forward and get more traction with significantly lower fuel consumption can choose a turbo motor. Competitions will be exactly the same. But the version with a 2-liter engine and automatic leaves, and from variants with 2 pedals in the lineup Duster will be only version with CVT and turbo engine. In addition, the K9K diesel remains in the lineup, the prospects of which look somewhat doubtful. However, for the last 3 years, the share of Duster sales with this engine has been constantly growing and reached 20%, so it was decided not to remove the diesel. It will be aggregated with the same 6-speed manual, because, according to Renault engineers, the combination of diesel and CVT does not turn out lumpy. And in any case, the bet is on all-wheel drive versions, which accounted for 91% of first-generation Duster sales. It is not less important to note that all gasoline motors in the Duster lineup, including the turbo engine TC150, are adapted to work on 92M petrol. About the interior and, of course, the most radical changes were made to the interior of the car. Many of its elements have been transferred from the Arcana model: steering wheel, instrument panel, EasyLink media system with 8-inch touchscreen, climate control system. The steering column, at last, has received adjustment not only on an angle, but also on departure. There is an adjustable lumbar support. The length of a cushion has increased on 20 mm, and the range of vertical movement of a driver's seat has grown from 40 to 60 mm. There is an adjustable armrest box. The quality of finishing materials has improved. This, of course, has not turned Duster into Bentayga or Cayenne, but, without any doubt, has brought the comfort in the cabin to a new level. And here, too, you can find a lot of fundamental differences from the European model. For example, Duster for Europe is not equipped with heated windshield, steering wheel, and rear row of seats. About passive safety in preparation for the launch of the new car, Renault Russia paid the most serious attention to safety issues. In addition to the standard certification crash tests, frontal impact at 56 km per hour with a 50% overlap and side impact with a crumple barrier, Renault also conducted a test according to the ODB65E RCAP methodology, where the test is conducted with an overlap of 40%, more loaded and more critical for the car, and at a speed of 65 km per hour. The test was deliberately carried out on the most vulnerable version of the car, with the heaviest and most voluminous combination of engine and gearbox, occupying a large volume in the underhood space. In case of impact, this combination is capable of maximum displacement and impact on the structure. The test results showed that neither driver nor passenger would have been seriously injured in such an impact, and a check of the power frame revealed no damage to the A-pillar and sills. It should be taken into account that the scoring systems for frontal impact in the ODB65E RCAP and Euro NCAP series are identical. But the final star rating of these series is different. In the ODB65 methodology, no stars are awarded. In the RCAP rating, only their result of frontal impact is taken into account, and in the Euro NCAP rating, both frontal impact and other tests and criteria. So it is rather difficult to compare directly the indicators of ratings received on domestic and European system. But the new Renault Duster is a Russian-made car, and RCAP is the only independent in Russia in general. A huge amount of work was done in preparation for the launch of the new Renault Duster. For example, more than 25 weeks were devoted to studying noise and vibrations, eliminating problems, and improving acoustic comfort. I, for example, did not know that Russian experts in the field of noise and vibration are considered to be among the best in the world. And it is these experts who advise all divisions of the Renault Group and the Alliance in other countries. About the tests, even more attention was paid to endurance and reliability. The test program involved 20 vehicles, each of which was driven between 20,000 and 50,000 kilometers in a wide range of conditions. These in-situ tests were supplemented by bench tests, which allow the body to age relatively quickly and ensure that there are no critical changes in its structure. The scheme of these tests is as follows. First, a car with equipment recording all suspension movements and all impacts on the body is sent along a certain typical route, say, on a road, which the car owner can go fishing. Then this record is transformed into the stand program, and the simulation of driving on this road is repeated many times, as if during 10 years of intensive use of the car. As a result, weak points, broken welding points or cracked brackets are revealed. All defects are corrected, the design is modified, and the cycle is repeated. For example, a vehicle has an absorber, a gasoline vapor trap. It is a fairly large part that is mounted on a bracket. By the end of the test, which is equivalent to the 8th year of operation, it had developed a small crack. The designers had to reshape and increase the thickness of this part to avoid this kind of problem in the future. How much will it cost? Real sales of the new Renault Duster should begin in the very near future. At the end of February, the recommended prices and available configurations will be announced, and sales will begin with online orders. Commercial Director of Renault Russia Philippe Thea is confident in the brightest market future of the novelty and is not afraid of cannibalization or internal competition with other Renault models of SUV segment. According to him, each of the three models, Duster, Captur, and Arcana, are focused on their own and quite unique audience. This is confirmed by a number of facts. For example, 91% of Duster sales came on 4x4 versions, and in the case of Captur all-wheel drive variants chose no more than 20% of buyers. In addition, 85% of Duster buyers preferred cars with manual transmission, while the share of purchase Captur with automatic transmission amounted to 75%. The company believes that these proportions will remain in the case of the new Duster. The company hopes that the car will remain one of the leaders in the segment, and it will be bought not only by individuals, but also by corporate clients. This should be facilitated by deliveries to the CIS countries, primarily to Kazakhstan and Belarus, which will begin in the second quarter of this year. The car should retain its popularity and to some extent repeat the success of the first generation, mainly due to the unique range of available options for the segment. A very high level of localization, the same as the first generation Duster, should also contribute to this. It remains to wait for the official announcement of prices and configurations. In conclusion, the new Renault Duster combines the power of a turbo engine with the versatility of all-wheel drive and specialized off-road variator settings, making it a standout choice for both urban and adventurous driving. With its impressive performance, advanced technology, and rugged design, the Duster is well equipped to tackle a variety of terrains, while providing a comfortable ride. Whether you're navigating city streets or exploring off the beaten path, this vehicle offers a perfect blend of capability and style. Thank you for joining us as we explored everything about the new Renault Duster.